Okay, everyone ready for our next talk? Up next, we have a discussion that's going to hit on a couple of the points that Matt talked about in the last discussion, both offers and advertising, and it's called Going Beyond the Offer Wall. And for those of you who don't know, an offer wall is literally a wall of offers that people can take in order to earn virtual currency inside your game. So if they wanted to sign up for Netflix or fill out a survey or buy a pair of jeans from the Gap, they could do that, and they earn the virtual currency and they can spend. So this is a way to drive incremental revenues inside your game. And it's offer walls have been around since, well, actually November of 2007, something that my company OfferPal first launched in a game called Fluff Friends on Facebook. And for a long time, and still today, they work very well. But the trend lately has been to move beyond the offer wall, to bring some of these offers and advertisements into the game more in a way that's going to engage with a broader set of users and that's going to engage more deeply with these users. And we have a company, TrialPay, that's been doing this very, very well, that we have a lot of respect for, and they've brought some of their biggest advertisers with them. So they're going to talk about some of the strategies that's been most effective in going beyond the offer wall. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you Alex Rampell of TrialPay.
Thank you very much. So I'm really happy here to have three great speakers with me. So starting, I guess, what is this? To my, I forgot if it's stage right or stage left, but to my right or furthest right is Mark, who's a producer and creative director from Backstage. We've got John from Real, who manages several of their affiliate programs, and then Sean, who's the VP of Business Development at Groupon. I'm sure many of you people know Groupon. It's one of the fastest growing companies on the planet right now today. So what we're going to talk about is just different strategies for going beyond the offer wall. As Matt said, offer walls were very popular for a number of years, but most people don't see them. That's the fundamental problem. Whereas if you're playing a game, it's 5 o'clock, you're hungry, and you see that you can get 20 coins in the game for free if you order pizza from Domino's, and that's presented to you. It's pushed to you as opposed to pulled by the consumer by clicking on Get Coins for Free. That's going to work very well. And we've seen many, many game companies, in some cases, double their revenue or even more by putting offers much further up the flow and putting offers that are very relevant to consumers and pushing them to them in a pretty relevant manner. So I was just going to show a couple screenshots of what this means, then ask the panelists to introduce themselves, and then I've got a couple questions that I think will be interesting and would love to open it up to the audience as well. So I'm Alex. I was the founder and CEO of TrialPay. I think many of you know us. This is the offer wall that I'm talking about, what we want to go beyond. But we're one of several companies like OfferPal, which is another very good company in the space that presents offers to people as a form of payment. We also do some other forms of payment processing as well. This is John here. Again, I'll let him introduce himself, but I'll also show a picture of some of the things that he manages. So SuperPass, Real Player. Real has been probably you guys were the pioneer in online video. So has many online services that have very popular affiliate programs and actually very, very popular online services for consumers. These are some of the top offers on many an offer wall. Groupon, I think most of you know Groupon, but Groupon really pioneered this concept of a deal a day in the local space. So here's an example. In case you want apparel and accessories at Romy Boutique, you can get $50. You can spend $50 and get $100 worth. So it's a great service, and this has worked very well in the offer wall and also outside of the offer wall. I think one of the things that's very interesting just as a trend going forward for this industry is that if you think about what you spend money on, I imagine that many people in this room today spend money at a local coffee shop or a restaurant or a haircut. You don't typically buy that many things that get shipped to you online. Maybe that happens 5 or 10 times per year. So local in general, this is my prediction, maybe I'm wrong, is going to be a growing percentage of advertising in either an offer wall or non-offer wall concept, because as people are willing and able to spend money offline, but actually able to buy and procure those items online, that's probably going to be a lot more popular than signing up for the Wall Street Journal here, whereas this is a really good deal. And Groupon brings great deals on a local basis, pretty much all over the world now. And then Backstage, one of their most popular games is Family Feud. It's one of the fastest growing games on Facebook right now. And they've done a lot of very interesting things outside of the offer wall, like, for example, sign up for Netflix, which is not presented in the context of an offer wall, but is really more presented in the context of just entering the game and seeing one particular deal for that particular day. and this is an example of that there. And so what I want to just explore here is how advertisers, we've got two very big advertisers in Reel and Groupon here, how you guys think about advertising, how you think about the social channel vis-a-vis, say, Google, which is another big source of customers for you undoubtedly. What are the biggest areas for growth outside of the offer wall? And also how publishers like Mark here, leading game company, can work with advertisers like you guys to achieve deeper integrations that actually work better for all parties. So why don't maybe each one of you can just introduce yourselves for about a minute or so.
Sure. My name is Mark, of course. I've been a producer with Backstage for a couple of years now. We were one of the first companies to monetize games on Facebook, so we have a lot of experience with experimenting with new models. We were one of the first ones to use offer walls and direct pay methods. And Family Feud has been our greatest success so far. We have a lot of games that focus around collecting, which is why the offer wall and deep integration works well for us.
I'm John. I'm with Reel, and I run basically all of our affiliate programs, a lot of customer acquisition. In the past, I've ran affiliate programs for some very large advertisers like Expedia, Rhapsody, and a number of others in the space. We've worked with TrialPay and a number of different companies in the casual game space for years. It's a great acquisition channel for us, and we spend a lot of money in the space. Definitely we enjoy it.
Cool. Hi, I'm Sean from Groupon. Groupon is a local deal of the day website that started about a year and a half ago. We currently service 75 U.S. and Canadian cities, as well as 27 countries, I think now. We're rapidly expanding and are really new to this space, mostly getting customers via word of mouth, just because we have some amazing deals that we run, and now we're trying to expand our reach. So we're really interested in exploring this space and see what it can do for us.
All right, great. So I'll open with an image here, and this is putting an advertisement directly in the game. There's no offer wall here. You can't miss this. If you're playing Pet Society, you'll see Blockbuster right there. The question is, how much is too much? I mean, if this game were only about seeing advertising once every 2 seconds, very few people would probably play the game. So, Mark, kind of question for you. How do you think about space outside of the offer wall? Because the offer wall is very scalable. Every game you can just have a little button that says, click here to earn more coins. But if you're putting stuff in the game, how do you view, what's the right mix?
Ideally, the content has to be relevant to the game. You need to have a situation where perhaps the advertiser is introducing a new feature. You want to make the customer feel like it's not an intrusion and that there's some sort of bonus for participating. So you really have to be careful in hitting users over the head, of course, with too much obvious and frequent hitting of buy. So if it functions well with the natural narrative of how the game unfolds, if here's an optional path that you might want to seek out, well, by the way, this optional path is sponsored by Blockbuster, and by the way, by finishing this path, you actually gain access to a new feature within the game, then the user is much more likely to be interested in going with that. Now, that's the gamer view of it.
And maybe kind of a follow-up there is, what percentage of revenue can you see come from this, roughly? I mean, if it's done right.
Right. So an important thing for us is in our games, and it could be because some of our games are mature now, we make a lot of our revenue from direct pay to play. So we don't want to jeopardize that portion of the revenue. But there are tons and tons of users out there that, of course, will never pay and want to, This is, of course, one way to reach them. But you can also reach, again, those people that have spent as long as you provide some real benefit to the game itself.
Yeah. All right, and how about from the advertising side? Outside of search, Google has been the largest acquisition channel for many an advertiser for almost a decade now. How do you see this channel? Is it growing? I mean, I know, Sean, Groupon being only a year and a half old is probably something where you only can have at most a year and a half of experience. But John and Sean, how do you feel about this channel as an acquisition? How large is it? What's the quality look like? What are the pitfalls and perils?
So for one of our online subscription services, SuperPass, The partner acquisition channel, which encompasses stuff that we do with Trial Pay and other casual games, is actually about 3 to 4 times as large as our search program. So it's actually, in terms of scope, it's much, much bigger than what we do internally with paid search. As far as the quality of customer that we're getting out of these different partnerships, it's a tough question because a certain percentage of them, as we know, are just going to burn out immediately. They're going to sign up and cancel. They just want their coins. They just want their whatever currency they're getting. But the ones that are actually left over are really pretty much in line with the rest of our consumer base. They, as far as the duration of where they're staying with our programs, they actually stay pretty much as long as everyone else. So it's the challenge for us as far as quality is getting past the initial group of customers that are going to come in and really just go in for the virtual currency and aren't actually interested in any of the products themselves.
Yeah, I think for us, we're still dabbling our toe in the water here, and certainly SEM and online display have been, great acquisition channels for us. But it comes down to that quality that you're just mentioning. That we're trying to figure that out. I could pay, I don't know, a nominal amount on Google to get someone to sign up for our email list. But if they just get our email and never buy something from us, then what value really are they? Whereas if I present our offer in a game, and now there's an incentive for someone to actually make the purchase, after they make that first purchase, so they're more likely to purchase because they have like card on file and things like that, different hooks. So that's where, for us, we're really looking at it from, it may not be the largest acquisition pool, but it may be a valuable acquisition pool. And then when it comes down to it, we really don't know this space, and we have a brand and a platform we think that's fairly new and actually innovative. We love to find all kinds of crazy ways to work with gamers or different networks to try to figure out a way to help monetize what you do with what we do. And I think when it comes down to it, you can't just look at yourself anymore as saying, okay, we have particular tactics that we always follow, SEM, online display, but really you have to be playing in all these different pools because you just don't know which ones are going to bear any fruit.
Yep. No, I think that's a good point. I mean, I think John's the stats that you pulled out, it's really interesting. Some things like people are searching for tennis rackets every day. But if you push a tennis racket to somebody that's never heard of tennis before, has no interest in tennis, they're probably not going to buy it. The great things about like what we found with many of our advertisers, like a Groupon, which is new, is if I'm not searching for Groupon, if I haven't heard of it yet, and it's pushed to me in this context, it's actually a little bit more powerful than search. And it really depends. Like there are some companies that we see that get 5% of their customers from this channel. There's some that get 95%. In many cases, it's just based on how many people regularly search for the prevailing service. So, one thing that I think is kind of relevant for a lot of people in the audience, and Mark, maybe for you as well, is this notion of brand versus direct response. So there's no doubt that this Blockbuster ad, or here's another one here. Company which is now part of Zynga, Challenge Games, this is their game Ponzi, buy something at Sephora and you're going to get coins for free. This is a direct response advertisement. Sephora is not paying for any kind of impressions here. The only reason why they pay and the only time that they pay is if somebody clicks on that and spends $100 at Sephora.com. So there was a company called Massive, which was bought by Microsoft a number of years ago, and what they were trying to do is put actual kind of more brand-based advertising, the types of billboards that you might see on a national highway, put that in the game. The whole offer wall and microcurrency space has really been dominated by direct response. Mark, have you ever looked at doing brand stuff, or how does brand advertising or banner advertising compare to something like this? And then I guess the question for Sean and John, which follows naturally, is, do you think about anything like this? Does it have a brand component, or do you think purely in terms of direct response?
I mean, the brand does matter, but what really matters is the hunger in the game to get the currency, to move forward. So the challenge, of course, is for you guys is like, how do these users work? If you're just getting users that just want to advance, you're going to have a lot of forced quits and cancel quits. It's a really hard balance. But again, if the user can feel like the brand is offering them something new in the game that it's sponsored around, I think you're going to have a lot better of opportunity. And of course, if it follows that it's connected to a natural narrative in their own life, be it the Mother's Day flower offer that you had, TrialPlay was offering previously, or Father's Day with Netflix, then you are going to have that connection and that complementary.
Well, I guess actually more in terms of if you could put a banner ad, like if Colgate will pay you to put an ad up for toothpaste, or Gillette will pay you to put an ad up for a Mach 3 razor, or whatever 5-bladed razor they have now. If you're putting that up in the game somewhere as a banner ad, that's not direct response. Gillette is not trying to get people to buy razors now. They're trying to get them to think about Gillette so that next time they go to the supermarket, they buy a Gillette razor. Have you run any banner ads or things that are... Because if you're thinking about using inventory that's outside of the offer wall, you could put a random banner ad there, or you can put something like this that actually has a direct response component. Have you tried anything of the more brand-based CPM type advertising, or have you mainly done stuff like this?
Mainly stuff like this so far.
Okay. How about John? How about you guys? Do you think about this from a brand perspective at all, or is it purely direct response?
I mean, I think when we look at the amount of eyeballs that we're getting on our offers and on our brand, it's definitely an impressive amount. Ultimately, we're being measured by the acquisitions that we're actually getting out of customers, but there's a component of branding to it as well. It's not something that we're looking at, what the CPM cost might have been had we done some sort of media buy, but it does have a small component to it. I wouldn't say it's something that we're actively measuring, though.
So I would say this. When it comes down to it, like Groupon's at a high growth stage, so we need massive volume. So, I got to go where, the fish are. At the same, I would say for our company, which is relatively new and trying to do things in an innovative way, it's hard for me to justify a brand, component and making spend based on brand. But I would say there's a general disdain that we have towards the banner ad. We think it's very, it sucks. It gets a 0.2% click-through rate, and that's successful. That seems like a waste of space. And to a certain degree, like the Sephora example, I kind of like this one. This kind of looks fun. But the Sephora thing, it just, what's the real advantage of putting my logo out there in some sort of offer? I think for Groupon, what we're looking to do is find a new way to connect with customers and engage them in some way. And looking at it from a brand perspective, sure, we have great deals on restaurants and spas, but really what we think we do well is we get consumers to buy stuff from us for things that's enjoyable in life, things to do in their city, to explore new ways, to be a tourist in your own city. And is there a way to bring that experience online? Like, I think there is. And truth be told, again, we haven't really, I think, touched on this space too much, but we want to do some, crazy shit. And we really need to, find good partners that can find a way to integrate us in a way that I think is actually entertaining and to the core of what you guys all do. I don't know if it's, creating a game experience where, the little character is going around and trying to figure out things to do in the city, or, there's offers that are being, presented to them that match whatever their game experience is. I would just say when it comes to Groupon, we're setting up an affiliate program, and we have different ways for you to use our API. Present them in a unique manner, and we love it. And it might not create the most volume, but it'd be fun, and we're looking to have some fun.
For the record, Backstage is into crazy shit.
How about Real? No comment on crazy shit?
No, we love it. I mean, I think that, we love crazy shit, right? I think that the challenge that we have with this space, and especially when you look at us from an advertising perspective, there's only so much you can do with the way that things are set up currently, and that's obviously why we're discussing this. Having our offers up in an offer wall environment really limits what we're able to do with engaging the customer. We're only going to get that segment of the game users that are really just going in there because they want virtual currency. They want to get some sort of reward. We know that it's probably not the general population of the game. So going beyond that and into the space where we're actually able to engage users, where it's maybe some in-game actual contextual advertisement or some way to actually interact with the brand itself. We love that opportunity.
I mean, some of that behavior of disrespecting the offer wall and the offers has been conditioned into the user because of the bad offers that there were previously from some offer partners. Mm-hmm. So the re-education is a challenge, and of course bringing in real brands rather than, forgive me if there's anyone who's a big fan of Love Crush, but those kinds of ads is going to help, but it's going to take some time, especially some of our early adopters who have been gamed by the system and are used to being gamed by the system, and so they retorted in similar fashion. So
and do you find that running actual brand advertisements in the game itself. Does that help draw more users to the offer wall because it's a legitimate offer as opposed to sign up and give us your cell phone number?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. An amazing first experience of the offer firing correctly, them getting what they wanted, everyone being happy is great. When it used to be that it took 3 hours, sometimes 48 hours for an offer to fire, and then it not happen, and then a partner, offer wall partner, not have the proper customer service to deal with it, then that's harsh. So.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that you mentioned early on, John, was of interest to me. You've got some people that churn right away, and actually this is related to Mark's comment. Some of the offers a while ago were cheating the consumer. So there was one that said, all right, what's your IQ? Do you want to find out? It's free. Click here. So a lot of people would click, I want to know my IQ. It's probably pretty low, but I want to know what it is. I click there, and it says, okay, we'll tell you your IQ. Answer these 5 questions. Give us your cell phone number, and we'll send you your IQ. It's like, all right, I have a high IQ. I can figure that out. Enter my cell phone number. And then what I didn't realize is that by clicking OK, I'm signed up for a $10 a month ringtone plan from the IQ Test of the Month Club. And those were many of the bad offers. So you had that taking advantage of consumers. And then the flip side is the problem that John was talking about, is you had another group of consumers that were taking advantage of offers. So you'd have some people that say, I know, all I have to do is sign up for Real SuperPass and then use a prepaid credit card number from CVS, and they can't rebill me in month 2, and I get $50 of coins for free. This is awesome. So you had those two problems converging, and the end result of that, at least what we saw, was that the dollars that were generated from offer walls and from promotions like this kept going down. The big problem, I mean, now the IQ test stuff, I mean, the FCC has cracked down on that. That's largely gone away. They still advertise on Google when they can, but that's largely gone away. The problem with stuff like this, from my perspective, I'd love your take on this, is that the amount of money that Lancome will pay for a customer from this channel is actually lower than that they'll pay for search, which doesn't make any sense. They're getting the same customer at the end of the day. I mean, here, all right, spend $50 on whatever Lancome sells. I think I know what they sell, makeup. Spend $50 at Lancome, and you're going to get all of these 75 brownie points for free. That's a very good deal for the consumer. But you mentioned that for some percentage of customers, they're canceling right away, which is actually pushing down the payments that game developers get. So, Mark, if you have consumers that are signing up for SuperPass, canceling, you actually might get paid less for the aggregate because somebody like John is going to say, you know what, 50% of these customers or 20% of these customers cancel too quickly. They don't have value to me. So how do we try to solve that problem as an industry, or rather the three of you at this table perhaps? How do you try to solve this problem? Because ideally, if you are sending higher quality traffic, then everybody wins. The consumer is getting more points. They like that. You, Mark, at Backstage are getting more dollars. And you, John or Sean, are getting a higher quality customer long term.
Yeah. How do we make customers behave the way we want them to behave?
That's part of it.
I don't want to go over the same point I said before, but I mean the quality of the offer when it's coming. Like Groupon is going to be offering some great things. If it's local, if it feels real, if it's a faceless company that's offering I don't know, come up with any example here. It's something that's not of value to them. But if it's for a local pizza place or a cupcakery, which is popular these days, they're less likely to shaft, I think, that business than they would a faceless corporation. So that might be something of benefit. And the other thing is just over the long term, the quality of the offers have been rising, which is great. And if the user believes that they're going to get what they get, like if they've been burned once, they will go after everyone and just try to milk the system all it's worth. But if new users coming in have great experiences over and over and over again, then they're less likely to game the system. That's my opinion.
Well, will you do something like if somebody signs up for Real SuperPass and cancels in 5 minutes using a stolen credit card, will you revoke that consumer? Do you try to proactively stop consumers from doing that?
Yes. Well, I mean, we get lists. Here's a bunch of consumers that have ripped you off or ripped us off. Will you take away their credits? We've done that before. It does get a little challenging sometimes when you have a customer who's a very good direct pay customer who also decides to cheat within the game itself. It's kind of funny. Like there's people that just in the game will both spend and cheat, and so that becomes a bit difficult sometimes. But for the most part, yes. I mean, we'll remove the credits for those people that cheat. They'll have negative, credits, and if they wish to continue to play, then they'll have to wait to build up again based on dailies, or we have reoccurring credits every day. I don't get into it, but or spend to actually bring their balances back up.
And do you look at doing that because it helps maximize the long-term value to this point of, if it turns out that 100% of your customers to Real Player Plus or Pro end up sticking around for a long time, they're going to pay you more money? Is that the perspective that you look at it from?
Yeah. Sure.
So, all right. How about you guys?
There's fraud in every business too, right? So I mean, to a certain degree, it's like, every time we talk to Zynga about doing something, and it's always like, okay, well, how do we handle that scenario? Because it will come up, and people write scripts, and you got to defend yourself. But if you look at it from hey, there's always going to be that risk to your business, then you can't let it paralyze you or stop you from just trying to innovate or do something new. I would say going back to just as a consumer, like I use this iPhone app that lets you play like Connect 4. I loved the game as a kid. Whenever I have 5 minutes, which is very rare, I play that game. And I'm always getting hit in barrage with these offers, to get the or get the non-free version or pay for it to have no advertising as part of it. And I'm just thinking about my own experience. Like, boy, if I had a great offer, maybe from Groupon, whatever it may be, like I actually, if I'm going to buy, like say a restaurant, if I'm going to go to a restaurant tomorrow night anyway, and I'm being offered this restaurant deal, why would I not want to, get that coupon that's a great value for that one restaurant? And then as a byproduct of that, I get to have the free right to use this, premium version of a game. I think when it just comes down to it is like, again, how do you just tie something that's contextually relevant to the consumer in a trusted way, where it just makes it easy? Because I think there's certainly a high level of engagement out there with a lot of people that become addicted to games, like me addicted to the Connect 4. But there's all this casual gaming that goes on, and we basically are just kind of like racing to find that 5% that seem to be fairly engaged and come back day after day. And there's a huge pool of people that I think probably are just going to waste. So how do we again get ahead of them and make it more interesting and easy for them? And I think that's the evolution that's going on. Hopefully the offers again are just getting better. The games are getting better. We're figuring out consumers. They're trusting us more. And I think again that's why I think there's a huge opportunity in this field. We just have to see it bear fruit.
Yeah, and I think to go to your point on looking at protecting the advertiser from potentially fraudulent users, I think there's just as much of an onus on the advertisers to make sure that our offers are relevant and they are actually quality offered to the customer. I mean, to look at what we're doing internally with our own campaigns right now, and really to sort of slap myself on the wrist. Right now, we're doing a lot of distribution of our free Real Player to customers through casual games, and someone's sitting there and they're playing a casual game, whether it's Farmville or whatever it may be, and they see an offer to download a Real Player and go sort of outside of their game and install this free product. I mean, it's kind of a shitty offer. I mean, to be honest about it, I mean, there's nothing really engaging about that. If there's some way for us to actually wrap that customer into the product itself, so that if you go and install Real Player, we're going to give you some exclusive content to the game once you've actually done that and install it, as opposed to just popping it up there and saying, hey, get a couple of coins for it. So we have to be really creative with what we do from our side as well. It's not just on your end, because if we're giving crap to customers, they're not going to be interested in it, and there's a certain percentage that are just going to go in there and game the system.
Yeah, once burned, you're never the same. So, but I mean, we do some. We're not a churn-based company. We answer every email that comes in from our users. We have had some customers that have been with us for 2 years now, and so it's really important that they're treated well. Like if push came to shove and the offers got really bad, we would rather not show it to them and take our chances with direct pay. So. An example of how we're helping the industry, if a user, say an offer's not firing, it happens to the best offer walls and offer partners, we'll give the credits, we'll give the benefit of the doubt so that they'll have a good experience and maybe do another offer at some other point. We're trying to fill the gaps as well. So we know that it's a combo between both of us.
So one thing that's interesting as well is that Longcomb right here, when we did this deal with Playdom, I think 90-something% of the customers that shopped at Longcomb had never shopped there before, which is almost the complete inverse of search. So if you do a search on Google for Longcomb, chances are you're going to buy something at Longcomb anyway. So maybe Longcomb gets 10% new customers, 90% repeat customers. So they like this. But if you do this every day, then that 90% will probably go down to 10%. So what's the fair rate for Longcomb to pay? And this is actually relevant for, I think, everybody in this room who actually makes games, because if you think about what do I allocate my offer space to, should I change my game to make a big window here to put a deal of the day? How much am I going to get paid consistently from that? So, Sean, for Groupon, you don't want to pay every single day that the person shops at Groupon. Ideally, you're paying one time for a new customer. It's probably not as relevant for Real because you guys have a lot more continuity products. But, how do you think about paying? What is the right price? I mean, you don't have to say the exact dollar amount. Sure. It's not the price is right here. But what's the right free? All right, I like that. All right, everybody, hear that group? They're on record for paying nothing for a new customer. But what's the right price?
That's gonna help my business.
I know. What's the right price to pay for something like this? And how do you try to differentiate a repeat versus a new customer? Because you don't want to be taxed by the game developer, I imagine, every single time that you sell a Groupon.
So I think it's what the market will bear, right, to a certain degree. So. And again, I think I have two strategies in mind. One is, high volume, and I just need to grow my business and ramp it as hard and long as I can. But I need to do that in a way where I actually have really good customers. And if it turns out that the best customers are the people that always buy from games, and the only way for me to have contact with them for some strange reason is through the games, then obviously, that's where I got to go. I think Groupon has a great experience, and if you buy once from us, I think you're more apt to want to go to Groupon.com directly to buy again. But again, I think it comes down to, how do you hit the person at the right time, and what's their right time? They get to define it for us. And if it so happens to go through a game is the right time, then hey, that's the right time. I think, when I go back to my comment about, what's the right value for that, I mean, for us it is rather new. It's hard for us to estimate out the customer lifetime value. Just because there is no terminal value, because there's no payment that you have to make to become a subscriber. It's free. But then B, we've only been in market, in a lot of markets, 6 to 12 months. So it's really hard to understand what the full lifetime value would be. But I would say to a certain degree, we're interested in this space and trying to figure out how to make it work and how to monetize it in a way that's really exciting for you guys. And I don't know if it's through like an affiliate program where there's some sort of rev share that comes to you. How that changes over time with the particular customer, if they're a repeat customer or not. I have a general and sneaky bet that I think if you actually looked at what we can produce through a rev share on our deals is probably in kind or better than what you get through, say, a remnant ad provider or someone like that. I mean, I think you could probably get enough money here where you're talking $2-3 CPMs maybe. I don't know. I think we're willing to help figure that out with you and want to figure that out with you. And then again, if there's a way to make it contextually relevant, I wouldn't pay a premium for that, but I think we could probably generate a hell of a lot more sales. So, I just know I have assets like an API that I could let you use and figure out the best way to use our content. And then we just have this fun, sexy brand. And when it gets down to it, we have 30 customer care people sitting in Chicago who are answering emails every day. So we're a really good, trusted brand that we think you could share your best customers with and feel trusted. That will treat them right.
Sure. The only thing is that the brand is secondary to the desire that's being generated by the game itself. So mining Facebook to bring users to Groupon outside of it will work for some, but will prove to be a challenge. Yep. So with us, we don't want to kill the goose, of course, by inundating. We want to make sure that it's relevant, that it's connected to features that are being released, that the user feels it's seamless, and they don't feel like they're hit over the head. So it's all about the desire and not killing that, and maximizing revenue
Sure.
and fun at the same time.
Sure, no, I totally hear you. I would just say this: like, there's a lot of shitty deals, as that are out there. So it's like comparative to it. Let's work together on that to figure it out.
Okay.
All right. Deal.
It's like the Korea summit here.
Yeah.
Glad we've made amends. So actually, we were supposed to have a senior biz dev person from Gap.com who couldn't make it at the last minute. So I'm going to channel him for a second because one of the things that is very important to him is the biggest affiliates for a company like Gap, and everybody knows what an affiliate is. It's like this. I mean, here, Sorority Life is the affiliate for Lancome. But the biggest affiliates for Gap are twofold. One of them is these cashback sites or point-back sites like Ebates or MyPoints. I'm not sure if people know that, or Fat Wallet, where you go there and you get 4% cash back if you shop at MyPoints. But in most cases, this is just cannibalizing sales directly from Gap.com because I'm about to shop at Gap. Oh, wait, I can get 4% cash back if I go to the United Airlines store, and then I get 4% cash back in the form of miles. But it's not actually sending new customers to Gap. The other one, this is actually one of the biggest problems for the Lancomes and Gaps of the world today, is these coupon sites. So Retail Me Not is one of the top 500 websites in the world. It works great. The problem is that it's all SEO. So if you type in Gap coupon on Google, the number one or number two search result is retailmenot.gap.com. And they have all the coupons right there. They're taking a percentage. And the result of this is for a guy like Nick at Gap, his answer is, you know what we got to do is pay as little money as possible. So we're going to pay 1% of our sales. A company like Best Buy will pay 25 basis points, 0.25% of their sales, even though they have a 30% gross margin product, to do something like this. So, part of the problem is, as an industry, how do you convince, there's a clearing price. You wouldn't put a Best Buy ad here for 25 cents on a $10 order, or a $100 order, rather. It doesn't make sense. So how do you, how risky are you willing to be? And how are you going to think about, Sean, this is, it's early for you to kind of answer this question because you guys haven't been around that long, but how are you trying to look at, what data points are you trying to look at to guesstimate or come up with a heuristic for the quality of these customers? Because if Groupon coupons start getting distributed to Retail Me Not, that might be a lower quality customer than something like this. And maybe a company like Backstage says, we have to get $5. We're not going to do it for less than $5, but the standard affiliate payment that you make is $1. So how do you try to make these one-off arrangements?
So I think it's one-off. And I will say, I think starting next week, you'll actually see some Groupon ads on Retail Me Not, by the way, on that Gap page. I think we're actually supplanting Google AdSense there. But, every environment's going to be different. And end of day, it's going to come down to that customer. I think if we get them to purchase versus if we get them to sign up for our email subscription list, the purchase is just higher quality for us. And we could figure that out in like the first 2-3 weeks. Are they going to be quality or not? If we can't get them then, everything that Groupon is a lot of the gaming that you guys have in your own games. If we don't get you in that first 2-3 weeks, we're probably not going to get you. So, is there a way to, maybe look at it from that way where it's not just like the one-time offer, but looking at like how do we get your engagement and make sure that we are on the right track of success with that consumer, and how do we share that with you? And I don't have an answer for you, Alex. I'm sorry.
So to channel the retailer a little bit, a lot of what these guys are trying to do is get new customers. Obviously that's what you spoke about as one of their major initiatives. I'm sure it's for you as well. So what they're doing is they're actually paying different bounties based on whether or not that customer has shopped at a certain retailer before. So Gap may pay 10% for a new customer versus 1% for a returning customer. If you're able to get into spaces like this within this game where you're able to get 90% of the people that are fulfilling this offer are new customers, that's worth a certain dollar value, and it's going to be a lot higher than what you're probably paying as a base rate to even search campaigns or to other affiliates. So there's, from the advertising perspective, if I know I'm able to get in front of new customers that will actually engage with my offer, I'm willing to pay a premium bounty for that.
And what do you think works better? I think for both of you, you have the option of effectively a free trial. For Groupon, it's sign up for the Groupon mailing list or buy the daily Groupon. Both of those could be in this Lancome spot right here. For Real, it could be download a 2-week trial or sign up for a 2-week trial or pay outright. What tends to work better longer term? Do you have any data on that? Because for a guy like Mark, is he better off putting the sign up for the Groupon mailing list, or is he better and get 1 coin, or buy the daily Groupon and get 100 coins?
So just real quick, like for us, we've actually seen it's the two polls are very divergent. So if you put an offer up on the wall for, say, a restaurant, you're going to get people that are interested in going to a restaurant, and then everybody else who sees that will not be interested in it and won't buy. So you've actually lost that opportunity. Whereas if you put in, hey, get 50 to 90% off local things to do, sign up for this email, you actually get a great pickup rate. but then it just comes down to like how do we then engage them in the long run to make them actually turn into buyers for us. I think there has to be a smart in between there, where I'm not necessarily looking for people just to run a bunch of our deals in front of everybody. How do we get the right deal in front of the right person at the right time? So if there's a way to use whatever data you have, and I know there's complexity on your side to really figure that thing out, but I know from our perspective, we want to put that in our API, make it really easy for you to understand what the deal is, what the value is, and then you guys figure out the algorithm, make sure you get the right deal in front of that person. I think that's the bigger win, and I think that's more contextually relevant than just, again, throwing a banner ad at everybody. And the banner ad could be email signups or just here's the restaurant deal for everyone.
How about you, John?
And what was your question again?
So what tends to work better?
I got lost in what you're.
What tends to work better for you, and hence for somebody like Mark? Is it driving people to a free trial, or driving people to an outright payment?
So we definitely look at trials. I mean, and all these activities that we're doing, it's based off of a free trial. I can tell you based on the offer that we're looking at, I would pay a much higher bounty for this because it's an in-game ad as opposed to a standard offer wall type of an offer. As far as the quality of the customer, I know just based on experience that's going to be probably 2 or 3 times better because it's getting in front of the general population, which is the interesting thing. I mean, you think that, again, it goes back to what we were talking about the people that just game the system on the actual offer walls themselves. It's a different type of customer than the people that are actually engaged in the game. So, as far as what we're doing, it's all trial based, but when we get the opportunity to actually get in the game and get in front of the main consumer base as opposed to just the people that are interested in filling out offers on the offer wall, it's a much better situation for us.
Yeah. So, Mark, I mean, maybe we can close with you. I'd love to open it up for a couple questions here, but what would you say is the single most effective off-offer wall thing that you've done in the last year or so? What's been most effective, and
Right.
what have you learned from it?
The most effective has been the Mother's Day flower offer, as well as the Netflix Father's Day offer, surprisingly enough. Did really well. Now, that's for the feud. For some of our smaller games in which we have to work a little harder, the best thing to do is to have a feature that's connected to a holiday in the game, an optional feature that's time limited, and having an offer that's relevant for that holiday, and those two things working together work out really well. And then you expose it to the general public, and then you get new customers and less people gaming the system, because both the offer is valuable. They're not going to rescind on sending flowers to mom. Actually, some do, but they're less likely than other offers. So the key is to figure out a model in which you can repeat this over and over again, and that's the hard part. You can't manufacture the love you send to your mom on Mother's Day, but there are other holidays that are powerful as well. So that there.
So on a day like Mother's Day, is that bigger than direct pay for you?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. For a brief period of time, the offers rule during those times, and it's awesome.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, how do you do that? If you could do that every day, that would be pretty good. But
it would be amazing.
Hallmark has to come up with new holidays. I think that's the key here. But anyway,
yeah.
would love to open this up for questions from people in the audience for our panelists here.
Okay, so if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll bring a mic over. I do have a quick question to get you started, and this is for any of the 4 of you. Is that when are we going to get to the point, and what's it going to take till we're running what those in the TV industry would call product placement, right? So rather than filling out an offer to go and buy a pair of Gap jeans, you actually buy a virtual pair of Gap jeans, and you can try that onto your avatar and see how it fits, and then show that off to all your friends. So kind of goes a little bit beyond just pure offers. It's a little bit of branding, I suppose, kind of a mix of the two. But what's it going to take from both the developer side and the advertiser side for us to get there?
Go ahead.
Again, I think it comes back to really making sure that the users are engaging with the brand as opposed to just filling out offers to get their virtual currency. This industry is amazing in what you've been able to do with capturing audience attention. I mean, you've turned farming crops into a cultural phenomenon. So how do you then turn an advertising platform? How do you make that engaging to customers? And that's we try to figure that out from an advertising perspective, but I think that you have some of the most creative people that we've ever come across in terms of online engagement working in this industry. I mean, I think you guys come up with some really cool ideas, and it's probably not going to be something where there's going to be a one-size-fits-all solution to engaging these huge brands and getting them into the games. But like we were saying, when we do some sort of one-off deal and some sort of user engagement, we really want to work with the actual game developers themselves to understand exactly what we can do to be creative.
So I would say, I think there might be an opportunity around, like, say, the holidays. So Groupon's going to sell a buttload of amazing deals during the holidays for gift buying. We're formalizing all kinds of good programs around that. If there's a developer out there that wants to take some risk and just see what can happen, I think it'd be really interesting if there was a game, I don't know, where Santa Claus is going around giving out shit and it's Groupon shit, and I don't know how much to pay for that. But I think it'd be interesting, and if we could take some risk and just try to see what it does, I think what you'd be amazed to find out is if it works, then you're going to be able to duplicate this a lot. So I think it's just trying it out and seeing if it works or not.
The integrity of the game is important, so you can't make advertising the game spend the game as much as we'd like to. Probably some of our games are the closest to that, actually, but I like the idea of the advertiser or the brand being the host for features within the game, new things that didn't exist before, so that creates a sort of positive relationship. It's hard. You got to pick your spots. You can't hit them over and over again. And the other thing is, of course, is that direct pay is a huge part of our income, and we don't want to jeopardize that.
Question back here.
This is for Mark, probably. Mark, can you talk a little bit about the balance between game design and all these offer walls, all these interesting things you can do? Where do you find the balance between making at its core a fun game, and then bringing either the marketing teams in and they come to you with these, we want to implement an offer wall? Where do you guys find the balance there?
Well, it's experimentation. Like we'll always try something once. That's how we've been successful. So if somebody comes with a really good idea, we're going to give it a shot. Would we create a game baking in all of the possibilities of monetizing with offers? It would be challenging because you have to think about the gameplay and the fun in itself, and then secondly, you have to think about beyond, this is the direct pay, beyond that, how do you get the most revenue of those who will not spend? I'm kind of meandering a bit. Did you want to make me more specific with the follow-up, or is that good?
Over here.
This is probably a question for Jonathan and Sean. How do you guys think about international markets? So there was a good session 2 days ago about the challenge and opportunity for game developers around monetizing globally. Both of your products are very strong domestically, but I think, Sean, you had mentioned you guys have like 27 countries or so. Can you tell us how you're thinking about experimenting internationally?
So we'd love to think both national and abroad. So we bought a company called City Deal that was our largest clone in Europe that brought 19 countries to the fold. We launched recently in South America. We think of things globally and where we're going to be. I think Groupon is going to be a global brand, recognized global brand by the end of next year. At the same, you got to find the right engagement and figure out what's the right play. If it turns out, in order to make that really interesting thing happen, we have to look at it from a global perspective because a lot of users on Facebook are not from the States. Maybe that's the right play. I know our European folks have their own API. We have our API. Eventually, it'll all be one API. It just takes time for us to grow and to expand and figure out the right triggers and have the right assets that you could do something more global. But that's definitely our perspective. I would say for the here and now, though, it's probably next near term, like 6 months. It's probably all like states driven. But I think easily, if you wanted to look at next year and say, hey, let's plan ahead and figure it out, I think we could do that internationally.
Yeah, and I think from our side, our products are domestic for the most part, but as we do grow internationally with whatever product that may be, this channel could be a large advertising medium for that.
And I would just add one thing there. I mean, one thing that we found is that for certain countries like Poland or Turkey that certainly have a lot of online usage and certainly Facebook usage, if they don't have basic infrastructure, like if people don't have the option to direct pay for anything, if they don't have credit cards, if national shipping is not reliable, it's very hard to have vibrant e-commerce, which is very hard to have CPAs that can do something like this as well. But what I'm excited about is as Groupon expands more and more, people in Brazil, they will pay for that. You'll figure out the local payment types, and it actually will work in this context for people in Brazil.
Any last questions? Okay. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Up next, we do have a presentation on lessons in virtual currency from Mochi Media's Josh Larson, so stick around.